Hi, I'm Sherry Quam Taylor, and you are listening to the Business Behind Fundraising podcast. Now, today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is how nonprofits can lead their major donors to their best gift and to help them give that gift every year. So, you've heard me say that if you've listened to any of these episodes. I want your donors understanding and giving their best gift, and then giving that gift every year. Now, you actually, as the fundraiser, have way more control of the pacing and timing of that gift, and frankly, the size of that gift, than you might think. You can only do this if you really intentionally shift a lot of your fundraising activities and planning and strategy from the reactive state that too many of us are in. Not your fault always, but we're just having to react to everything that's coming our way, to really pushing pause almost and saying, how can I actually shift this relationship and start leading that donor? Start leading that donor to a greater understanding. Start serving them in a different way. Start raising their sights on the investment that we really think they could make in our mission. Now, the exciting news about this is I have a client who, even in this last 18 months, added 7 figures of revenue to his bottom line, unrestricted, really using this principle, really saying, I'm going to fight for that best gift. I'm going to take the time and slow the train down in a couple areas so that we are working toward that donor's best gift. And the best thing about this is so often we already have those donors in our donor file. They might already be giving to us, and they are actually wanting us to lead them. They're wanting us to serve them in a different way and really raise their sights on the types and sizes of gifts that your mission needs. So, how do we do this? How do we lead? Well, there's really 2 different ways we can lead. So, what does that exactly look like? Well, the first one is really, how do we lead from a mission perspective? How do we make sure that they see that their mission for giving is actually our mission? How do we really educate them and help them understand that this is a win-win for both parties? Now, I'm not talking the slimy, this is what the donor wants, so that's what we do. Not talking about that at all. But I'm talking about you being able to articulate your mission and really doing the due diligence, doing deep qualification work, and really understand, why would they give to you? Why would they raise the size of their gift? What questions might that donor have in their mind that's keeping them from giving their best gift? So we get to take that information and lead that donor on a journey in educating, in solving a problem for them, in getting their advice, seeking their input. And I just see this part skipped over so often. We go straight to the ask, or straight to adding them to the newsletter cadence and appeal cadence. And we aren't taking the time to make sure that every step we're taking with our top level donors is directly tied to their mission for giving. The second way to lead is really physically lead. And so, what do I mean by that? Well, if we haven't taken the time to chart out what those top 30, top 50 donors' journey is for our organization every year, it will be very hard to lead. It will be hard for us to say, here's what the next step is. So I know that in this meeting, and I'm going to kind of lead into that and help them see what I'm doing here as a next step. And so there's so many different ways that we can physically lead our donors in driving to that next meeting or telling them what you're going to do next. It doesn't have to be pushy. I'm not talking, like, I'm going to call you and say this and do this. Just serve them. Really take that time. Slow down the cadence. Even when you're emailing, right? What did you tell them you're going to do next? Did you say, let me know if you have any questions? Or did you say, I'm so excited to hear what questions you might have. If I don't hear from you, I'll reach back out in April, whatever the month is. And so I want to make sure that you really see that you're not being pushy, you're not being that used car salesman. But our donors are busy. They're busy, and so often they're not responding. Maybe we didn't take the time to qualify them well enough, but they might not just be responding because they need to be led a little bit. They got full-time jobs, right? You're not their top priority. So be confident knowing that they might actually want you to lead. Now let's talk a little bit about that pace of leading. So, if we think of a donor's experience all year long and we think of how we would lead them through that cadence, I want to make sure that we are not jumping over important steps. What happens when we jump over important steps? Well, I get things like, yeah, that donor came, we had a great meeting, felt good, but then we never heard from them again. Okay. Maybe they even they mailed in a check. Oh my gosh, who's this person? We thanked them, we sent a note, never heard from them again. Those types of situations that we've all had happen to us are the types of scenarios that when you're leading your donors properly, you can really alleviate it and have less of those types of scenarios. My biggest advice for you in leading and really saying, deciphering, does this donor want a donor experience from us? Are they interested in what we do? Do they trust us? Is there relational equity? I want you to take the time to really make sure this is a qualified donor. It's not just that one couple that, oh my gosh, we've been dying to get in front of because they write giant checks. And then you meet with them and you're running a literacy organization and all they talk about is clean water in another country. It's okay. This is probably not something I'm going to spend my time leading. I don't need to convince anybody to give to our organization. Your organization's worthy of being supported by donors who really, really want to be in partnership with you, want to be in relationship with you, and frankly, then welcome being led. And so I always tell people, when you make a solicitation, if we do it right, once we ask, that's not really where the yes and no happens, right? Sometimes it's yes, I can give a greater gift, or what, no, we want to stay at this level because of these reasons. It's kind of a yes and a well, with some stipulations, or not yet. The yes and no happens way back when we are really listening and really figuring out, does this donor want to be on a journey with us? That's where the yes and no happens. And so we skip over that step way too often, or we rush it. And then when we get in the middle, they're not responding to us. They don't want to be led. It feels like bugging because we haven't taken the proper time to really figure out if they want to be led. If they do, then it makes your job so much easier. Then we can connect their heart to our mission. Then we can answer their questions. Then we can solve a problem for them. Then we can get their feedback. And then we can ask them if we can ask them, right? We can solicit them and thank them and show them what their gift did and pull them right back into a donor journey to their best gift next year. And so much more of this is in your control than you might think. Now, let's end this podcast talking about a couple different areas where I see money left on the table when we're not leading, when we stay in reactive mode for too long. And so I see this with individual donors. I see this a lot with family foundations. I see it with businesses. I'll just throw some scenarios out there so that you can be thinking, gosh, that's us. Or, what could I be doing in this area to make that shift? And so from individuals, one huge area would be that one donor who just always kind of mails in, $1,000 check, $5,000 check. We always send it around Thanksgiving. It just comes. We've thanked them. We don't want to tick them off, so we just kind of let it roll. Could we lead that donor? Is that donor's best gift? How can we get in front of that gift next year? Same thing for individuals who always come to your events and perhaps give a generous gift. It's not their best gift. How do we lead them out of the event? How do we lead them up to the event? How do we bring their gift outside of the event? Because you're never going to get that donor's best gift at an event. What about a donor who maybe gives in kind? They're in your monthly giving program. They've done peer-to-peer for you. And that's just it, right? How are we leading them or helping them see the opportunity to grow, to really understand the need of your organization? How would you do that? Same with family foundations. How do we lead them into a deeper understanding beyond the application, beyond well, they always give us 20, so could we ask for 25 this year? My clients have had great success creating donor experiences for even family foundations and starting to lead them differently and really helping the family foundations see their organization, see their leadership, see their mission as different. You know whose application goes to the top of the stack when that happens. Last thing, same with businesses. Gosh, if we are in touch with that decision maker, I would really look at maybe they're giving a sponsorship to your event, in past years. And gosh, but if we actually took the time to lead that donor, create a great donor experience, would we realize that their mission for giving is actually our mission? And they don't need the hoopla of a gala sponsorship. And frankly, they don't want the hoopla of a gala sponsorship. I have this happen so often. I sat in a lunch meeting with a very prominent accounting firm in the city that I'm in Chicago. The owner said to me, Sherry, tell me this. What's with these sponsorships? I get calls last minute every year. I know what the call is. It's for the golf sponsorship. I'm not beating on golf. But if they just got to know me, if they really took the time and led him, they would understand that I write way bigger checks down the road to people who actually I have a relationship with. And I don't get anything out of that golf sponsorship. And so this is an example of reacting and kind of just being on autopilot to really starting to take the time and sit with that person and start leading them on a different journey. And so sometimes leading feels like we have to be either that pushy used car salesman or we have to be begging. You do not have to be either one of those. You have to be yourself. That's the best thing you can be. There's only one person, you, who can lead that donor on a journey. Lead them into a deep understanding of what your organization needs, what the financial need is, the types and sizes of gifts you're looking for. And once you do that, you'll see the money that has been sitting on the table all these years. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you've liked this episode, please like, subscribe, share, ring the bell to get notifications on a weekly basis. Also, if you're listening to this on an audio podcast, please take a second and give me an Apple review. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.